And I'm not in a good mood because I don't have my usual shirt.
I know.
Like you mentioned. But I did find one where I was like, maybe sweat can go through here. I'm not sure. It looks like did you intentionally pick something?
I did. You kept saying, dude, you gotta wear a gray shirt. And
you gotta get your sweat on with me, man.
I was like, well, this is the closest thing I have.
It has gotten to the point to where before we go outside to get in the car, we are about as enthused as we would be if we were going to the gym. Like, we are kind of wearing workout clothes. Well, at least me. I've got, like, my sweats on and everything. You're wearing jeans.
Wearing jeans.
You're wearing jeans. So, yeah, I was looking for my like gray White Sox shirt that I've been wearing the last few weeks. If you didn't see them by the end of these, we are drenched in sweat. Today in particular, it's another hot one. And when we finished the third movie, you were looking at your phone just going, man, it was supposed to get cloudy today.
It was. It was supposed to rain.
It didn't.
Nope.
It looked like you were upset, like you thought a snow day was coming. And then the storm just goes by our town. We won't miss a minute of school thanks to your father. Say your prayers, plowboy. So I think my White Sox shirt, unless Laura burnt it, which she might have. I think it was still like in the washing machine, maybe. Even though it has been washed since last time we recorded. She might just be putting it through there a few more extra times. In retrospect, if it was in the washing machine, I probably should have wore it. It's wet. It might have kept me cool.
It'd have been, if it wasn't drenched in sweat, it would be dry. You know, like it would just be like.
I will still need to go back in the washing machine at least 12 more times. I should have picked something else. I don't want Laura throwing away my Bee Gees shirt. All right. Well, I wanted to give you a little bit of a break this time, so there were like no art movies or documentaries or anything like that.
I appreciate that.
No problem. I'm like, okay, got it. All right. Comedy, Yeti movie from the 70s, and Jackie Chan movie
from the 70s. It was all basically a 1970s theme today.
Yeah, sometimes there are like random themes going on, like unintentionally in a few of the movies we do. Like Clockwork Orange and Tiger House both had breaking and entering. Today we've got the 1999 comedy Dick, and that's for Bernard Worchel. And then we have the 1977 Italian exploitation movie Yeti, Giant of the 20th Century for Rory Gallagher, and the 1980 Jackie Chan movie Battle Creek Brawl for Nathan Palmer. We've got all three of those coming up for you. So let's take a little bit of a break so we can get moments of cool air in here, and we'll be right back.
It's true.
Those radical muckraking bastards, Woodward and Bernstein over at the Washington Post. Always hiding behind the goddamn First Amendment.
Actually, it was just about the dog.
You act like you like him, but we don't think you do.
You were like, oh man, I was already getting warm after that intro. Like, brace yourself. We might not talk about Dick or Battle Creek Brawl that much. I have a feeling we'll talk about Yeti for a while. Just to get, at least I have the most notes for Yeti.
Okay.
Really not much for the Jackie Chan movie or Dick, really.
Okay.
So, first of all, when we introed this, I was so quick to hit pause and turn the air on. I forgot to ask, what's your name? What's your website?
Oh. Well, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you can find me on twitch.tv/Jerrid Foils. I play drums to viewer requests. Although, as of now, drums are on a slight hiatus. I lost my rehearsal space, but have no fear. There are other options.
Cars.
Drums in a car. That would be kind of fun.
Exactly. Midnight Screenings, the drum solo edition. It's the spin-off. First up, we have the 1999 comedy Dick. And again, this is requested for Bernard Warchel, but I won't... There's a couple things in here. I'm used to mostly talking about Dick as the cinema snob. And giant Yeti movies as well. Well, we know that this is a 1990s movie when the first thing that we see in the film is French Stewart.
Right.
The man needs a comeback, goddammit. I am all for the French Stewart comeback.
Yes.
Hopefully someday we can review Love Stinks or something like that.
He was in that?
Oh,
Okay.
he's the star of that film.
Okay.
That was the raunchy R-rated movie directed by the creator of Full House and starring French Stewart.
Nice.
Wasn't out in theaters for very long.
Nice.
This is the one that is about two high school girls, Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams, who, really unbeknownst to them, are responsible for everything that happened in the Nixon administration. From being Deep Throat to ending the Vietnam War. There is that new series, that mini-series that's out right now called Gaslit, with that's about Watergate, and it's with Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. I don't need to see that. I already know what happens. I know that Forrest Gump witnessed the break-in, and so did these two high school girls who became Deep Throat because they heard the Nixon tapes and were very upset. Not for really the crooked stuff that was going on. More so, they were really upset that he was mean to Checkers' dog. I saw this movie in 1999. I haven't seen it since then. And
This is my first time seeing
Oh, you've never seen this
No,
one? Oh,
no.
yeah, I have. It's been a long time, to the point to where I forgot how many people were in this. Like, the main ones, yeah. Like, I remembered Kirsten Dunst, Michelle Williams, Dan Hedaya, Dave Foley, but Ryan Reynolds is in this. Anna Gasteyer, Dave Foley is in there.
You said Dave Foley twice now.
Oh, I'm used to Dave Foley playing more than one character in things. So
Did you mean Will Ferrell, though?
no, him I remembered being in the film.
Yeah. You know, I'm not a big fan of that era of, like...
The 70s?
No, the late 90s. Like, I feel like there was a lot of Saturday Night Live influence, or Saturday Night Live... aside from Will Ferrell, wasn't there quite a few, like, Saturday Night Live
Jim
people
Brewer's
from
in
that-
this,
from
Anna
that area?
Gasteyer, Will Ferrell. Also, a lot of Kids in the Hall cast members, too, are in this. The movie is kind of history by way of, like, Mad Magazine, but with an SNL cast and a Kids in the Hall cast.
And so the thing is that era of Saturday Night Live was very, very prominent here in this movie, and I just wasn't a big fan of that.
I'm not a huge fan of that particular era of Saturday Night Live either. It is kind of hit or miss for me. I love the Jim Brewer stuff from Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Jim
all that.
Brewer
The
is
Joe
amazing.
Pesci show, all that. Freaking love. And he's in this. So when you're watching these people in the movie play, these real people, it's not so much that they're doing like an actual imitation of them necessarily.
Right.
It does feel like kind of like they're playing them in a comedy sketch.
Right.
But even though I am kind of with you on that particular era, like I said, that early 2000s, late 90s SNL, even though this isn't an SNL movie, but I did really, really, really like this movie.
Did you?
I did like how I could see how this could go wrong, really, because they are kind of playing these people like they're straight out of a sketch. But then there's ones that aren't. Like, okay, you have a comedy version of Woodward and Bernstein in this, but then you also have Dan Hedaya as Nixon, who's playing it straight.
Right.
Like, he's playing it like he's in a biopic.
And Dan Hedaya's, and I applaud his Nixon impression. It was really good.
Yeah, it was. He is one of the best movie Nixons. It is perfect casting. Saul Rubinek is really good as Henry Kissinger. He's not in the movie very much, but he's good. I think it's a very likable movie, and I got some good laughs out of it. Really solid soundtrack too. Like from beginning to end, it has all the period music that you'd expect out of a movie like this. I like that it is one of those where the dumbest characters in the movie are a lot of the characters that kind of think they're smart. And the two girls, I wouldn't go so far as to say they're dumb, really, or anything like that. They're just acting like they're 15-year-old girls who have kind of a layman's view of politics, really, just sort of a surface level view of it.
I mean, the opening scene is them typing a letter for Tiger Beat magazine to go on a date with who again?
Bobby Sherman.
Bobby Sherman, okay.
So I liked that. I enjoyed things like that, where it is like this teen girl outlook on the Watergate scandal.
Sure.
So she has a crush on Richard Nixon. Michelle Williams has a crush on Richard Nixon if he's Bobby Sherman. She's dreaming about them riding horseback together. And it works because, I mean, they're playing the parts, not like they're dumb, really, just like they're these kids who are kind of in this situation that they don't really have a lot of knowledge of or grasp the levity of it or the weight of it.
I mean, they're literally in the White House just to see checkers.
Yeah. So they think they're stumbling across all of these different things that are happening, but are more concerned about making cookies for them and leaving them love messages. They're listening to the Watergate tapes and are more interested about the dog. And I was getting a lot of real laughs about that. So her having these daydreams about Richard Nixon and having a crush on him, while she's just acting like a kid, you know, who would have a crush on someone. It's even funnier that Dan Hedaya is playing it straight. And he's in these dream sequences.
Come here, I want to show you
like
something.
He's David Cassidy. I did really like it. I liked these characters. How it was almost Forrest Gumpish in a way that they seem to be a little bit more aware of politics than him.
Sure.
But they are randomly inspiring all of these things.
Right.
From Nixon doing this to ending the Vietnam War.
just by saying, Dick, can you just stop it? Just stop it. Just war is no good. Just stop it.
Will Ferrell does have a really funny line in this where when they're Deep Throat, which they come up with the name Deep Throat because her brother got busted going to a movie theater to see the movie Deep Throat. Yeah. He happened to be walking by when they were on the phone with Woodward and Bernstein.
Which I'm glad that they did that because I thought it was much more than a coincidence that Deep Throat, the movie, was released a couple months before Deep Throat, the Scandal.
Speaking of, there's some honking going on. I think Deep Throat might be joining us. Someone will walk out into an overcoat. It probably won't be a whistleblower, though. It'll probably be a flasher. So I remembered this movie being pretty good. I mainly remembered it too. Like you should watch it as a double feature with Andrew Fleming, the guy who directed this. Directed an 80s horror movie that was like, it was like he took inspiration from the Manson family and made a Nightmare on Elm Street knockoff. The name of the movie is Bad Dreams, where this woman in the late 1960s survives this Manson family-like cult, and the cult dies in like the opening, and then the rest of it, she's haunted like Charles Manson is Freddy Krueger, who is like haunting her dreams and shit.
Seriously?
Like, yeah, I remember catching this late at night one time on like HBO or Cinemax when I was young.
So let me kind of expand on what I don't like about late 90s SNL and this by extension. The comedy or at least the line delivery or maybe even the acting, it was just almost pretentious, like in the way that like it was back then. Prime example was the opening scene with French Stewart, where Will Ferrell is just like, you know, French Stewart's character,
Larry King.
Yes. Larry King, who's Deep Throat, and Will Ferrell just blatantly tells him, "We're not telling you. We've had bigger names asking. We're just not. We won't tell them. So why would we tell you?"
I mean,
It's
I
just
like that payoff where Will Ferrell had one of my favorite lines in it, where the two girls are saying that they don't mind if they release who they are. And Will Ferrell goes, "No, we're not going to do that because honestly, it's really embarrassing."
And that was fair.
Like, yeah,
that was fair.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I heard that and I was like, all right. I mean, yeah.
Like there was some.
It wasn't funny. I didn't think it was that funny.
I enjoyed that line. Like because Will Ferrell he plays it a little straighter than you'd expect him to, really.
Sure.
Bernstein, not so much. A lot of the comedy shtick from that duo in this is more so coming from him.
Sure.
And yeah, their shtick together in it, because they got kind of like sitcom-y odd couple shtick going on throughout the movie, and that was kind of one joke throughout it. But the movie knew when to not let them ramble too much. Like it knew when to kind of cut it off and not let them go on way longer than they need to.
It's true. I guess it's good that this movie didn't have like the Will Ferrell freak out that we were used to seeing. You know, so I was kind of glad it spared us that.
Well, I think it's more so too that it was made in 1999 and not today. So, like, they knew when to say cut, or at least like knew when to leave some stuff on the editing room floor. No, I had a good time rewatching this. I think that there was a lot of very standout moments in it, especially the ending, like where it puts to good use Carly Simon's "You're So Vain," and like the payoff of him leaving the White House and the girls standing on the rooftop.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I thought it was a very tight film. It's only about 90 minutes. It doesn't drag itself out too long. It does show restraint. I'm with you. I'm not the biggest fan of the late 90s, early 2000s SNL because a lot of it, I mean, it can be jokes that are kind of run into the ground, and a lot of it can be jokes that I don't really think are that funny to begin with.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with this movie. I can see where in lesser hands I maybe would. This I didn't. I liked it. I got a lot of really, really, really good laughs out of it. Oh, okay. I remember Terry Garr is in this. Ted McGinley is in it. I knew there was some other people who were in the movie and not just me saying Dave Foley twice. It's the names are sweating out of my head.
Right?
I'm started. What president was this movie about again? Gerald Carter.
Gerald Carter.
What is even happening? What year is it, dude?
Ronald Bush.
Deep Throat better get here fast. There you are, First Lady Nancy Bush. It's so hot in here. What grade would you give this?
Oh, I will at least give it a C+. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't my forte. So, okay.
It's because you prefer the Will Forte era. I'll give it an A-.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Wow.
I did.
Okay.
I did. Like, if Laura got home after we got done watching the third movie, and it was, I didn't know if she had seen this movie or not, but I think she mentioned having seen it. And if she hadn't, I would have been like, oh, I'd watch it again, honestly, because she would like this movie a lot if she hadn't seen it. But, okay, give us a minute. We're going to
Turn on the
cool down
AC.
a little bit, turn on the AC, and we'll be back with Yeti, giant of the 20th century after this.
Get ready, be steady.
It's Yeti and my spaghetti.
Yeti and my spaghetti, don't let him fall. Don't pull it back.
There's a Yeti in my spaghetti.
Men. They're all the same.
Alright, this is the hottest I have been in one of these. Oh my god.
Really?
I now understand why people were concerned for us in the chat last Monday. Which, by the way, thanks for watching, everyone in the chat. And if you want to see these, the premiere of these, it's 7 p.m. on Monday. Watch us on here, join us in the chat. And if you'd like to make a request for a midnight screenings review, become a top tier contributor over on Patreon at patreon.com/thecinemasnob.
And while you're here, click that like button.
Oh yeah, leave us a leave us a comment too. Click like, click subscribe, so you'll get the click the notification bell. And there's probably like 12 other things that you have to do on here to get notifications. I'm not sure. So
Thanks,
God.
Google.
I always thought it'd be Brad tries. It would be the death of me, but no, it's gonna be heat stroke in a car talking about Yeti, giant of the 20th century. The 1977 Italian-Canadian production. So I knew right away. I didn't even have to look, like, okay, with Dick, I had to be like, all right, what streaming service is this on? Okay, Hulu, fine. A movie like this, oh no, I know Tubi has got my back. Tubi, the greatest streaming service that there is. Can you watch Yeti for free over on Tubi? Absolutely you can. Didn't even have to type in the whole word, just Y. And Yeti, you want Yeti, don't you? Here's another Y word, the answer is yes. We are watching this Italian movie that you know it is because, well, one, you can just kind of tell by the way it's shot, and also the Italian names in the opening credits, except for the director who is Gianfranco Parolini, but according to this, directed by Frank Kramer. Sure. I believe you. This isn't Bruno Mattei, is it? No, it's not? Okay. Well, it's not Frank Kramer either. It was weird not watching this movie as the cinema snob.
I was gonna say, like you probably should have made this a snob episode.
Yeah, there is a lot of material in it. It was different watching a movie like this just in my regular chair and not doing it as the cinema snob, or I'm like on the couch with my laptop up, window of the movie here, notes right here. No, I'm just sitting there watching this movie about a giant Yeti who's unfrozen and starts attacking shit.
Canadian King Kong, basically.
Essentially. Or, honestly, also bigger budgeted EGA. If this was for a Cinema Snob episode, someone would bang that Yeti. I guess the geek. It comes close, where the Yeti is carrying Jane. Jane accidentally puts her hand on the Yeti's nipple, which it is a close-up shot of the Yeti's nipple that just, boop! He is excited.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen this action in a million years. I love the plot of this thing, where right away it's, what is it, Honeycut Industries, and the evil CEO is like, Yeti? What in the hell's a Yeti? See, in Canada they say Sasquatch, and in the US it's Bigfoot. It's more or less the same thing, sir. It's like, oh, well, we need to advertise the shit out of this. Right. So they want that Yeti so they can put his face on t-shirts where there's people running around the mall excited excited, like the Yeti just put out a hot new album, and they're running around excited, buying shirts, where the woman's got that shirt that's like Yeti handprints here, and on the back it's like, "Kiss me, Yeti." He's like, "Yes, we can sell plenty more of our merchandise with this Yeti. Now when anyone sees that Yeti, they'll be thinking Honeycut Industries." Will they? I might be thinking there's a giant 50-foot Yeti who's dangling people out of a fucking elevator and stepped on that man. And no one learns their lesson in this movie either.
Nope.
No one does. Once the Yeti is unthawed, who, by the way, Yeti in the loosest of terms, this is like a giant caveman.
Right.
It's a guy.
It's a dude.
It is a dude. He looks like giant Kenny Loggins got thawed out and is like jumping through buildings.
See, I compared him to Benny Gibb.
Barry Gibb.
Barry Gibb.
Barry Gibb. You compared him to Barry Gibb.
Yeah.
That's why whenever someone sees that Yeti, they'll be thinking Barry Gibb, and they'll buy our Bee Gees t-shirt. I love that as soon as the helicopter drops the Yeti down and people start taking photographs and the guy's like, "No, what are you doing?" I'm like, "What? Why couldn't you have said no photography before this thing? What did you think they were going to do with all of their cameras set up?"
Right.
Instantly, that spooks the Yeti.
Lighting rigs, cameras, everything's set up right there.
Whoa, 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 what are you doing?
I don't know when you brought this up here, but you can't use that.
He gets mad, runs off, but don't worry, they find him because the movie is also a Lassie knockoff.
Yes.
In which Indio the collie is sent off for help, and they talk to the dog like it's Lassie.
Yeah.
But because it's an Italian exploitation movie, in the third act, the dog just gets knifed with a switchblade by the villains. But it's, surprisingly, the dog's okay by the end of it, where the Yeti goes off, but we gotta remember it's also a Lassie film, where the kid sees the dog like it's the magic of Lassie all of a sudden, only, again, it is an exploitation film, so while the dog is running at him in slow motion, like he should be running to Timmy, the dog is covered in blood. Right. But he's fine.
The reason why he's fine, though, is because the Yeti saliva heals him.
Yeah. You know what? I'll buy it. Fine. The Yeti also can kind of change size, not knowingly so. It's a flaw. Sometimes he's like 20 feet tall. Other times he's taller than a building. Yeah. And they don't even learn their lesson from when the Yeti was spooked by the cameras in the mountains. They're like, still, we need to drop him in the middle of the city where there's a parade going on. And the Yeti has his own disco theme by this point. They are excited to see this Yeti. They are holding up signs on rooftops like they're welcoming the aliens from Independence Day.
Oh my God.
And so I love that the Yeti has his own disco theme, by the way.
Right.
Maybe I'll play a little bit of that song, but that was a kicking theme, man. They bring it back in the ending credits. But even so, when they drop the Yeti on the rooftop, that guy is still there, and he's like, "Whoa, no photography, what are you doing?" So of course, it goes nuts. And the movie does. I was actually impressed with a lot of the effects work that they were doing. Like, it was a lot of cool force perspective that they were doing in a lot of it. I liked a lot of the model work too. They went for it. They really were. They were ambitious with a lot of their effects.
There was some animatronics.
Oh, the foot and the hand.
Yeah.
That stuff looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's questionable green screen, of course.
Yeah.
And you can tell like that's a miniature helicopter. They ain't a real Yeti in that thing. Like, sure. But even that adds to the charm. There was still some stuff I'm like, damn, that's pretty impressive. Like when it was climbing down the building and was using the windows as like a stepladder and crashing his foot through there. Like, it was they were pretty ambitious with a lot of their effects in this.
I agree with that.
I was really, really digging that. The movie doesn't work entirely. It's fun to talk about, and it has a lot of charm, but it is about 20 minutes too long. It's an hour and 40 minutes. This thing has no business being over 80 minutes. And there are a lot of very lingering shots where, again, I appreciate that they really like a lot of their effects in this, but they linger on it a bit too much. It's like you're not 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, you can cut away from this. Like, I mean, it's practically thawing the Yeti out in real time.
I agree. I noticed that as well. It was, they had flamethrowers, they had heaters, they were just like, any minute now, this Yeti will come to life, and blah, blah, blah. And then for some reason, they have to revive him in the air.
Yeah, they have him in the air in what looks like a phone booth. They're carrying him around.
It's a very low-budget Doctor Who.
There's a lot of long shots like that. Also, it kind of has its climax in the second act, where it's the second act where he's going through the city and tearing up shit. And then after that, he's just kind of bumming around in a warehouse for the last third of the movie.
And let's not forget, while he's in the city, people are calling the cops, who are absolutely useless.
Okay, here's what, that's because there's only 2 cop cars in this, which is hilarious. That's where I'm like, I can see the budget here. There are only 2 cop cars that it shows all the time. So that because of that, they have to pack in like 4 or 5 cops into the same car, driving around like it's a clown car, going after this Yeti. So it takes them a while to get to their destination. I like that in the warehouse, there's a cot in there. That way the Yeti can save the girl from being raped at one point. No, it's okay. Lassie's still there. So the movie did need a lot of tightening, and it kind of does feel like it sort of switched its acts a little bit. So it's not perfect.
You loved this movie, didn't you?
No, I didn't love it. It has a lot of material. I would love it if it was about 20 minutes shorter, and because it does have some tedious moments. And when it's the Yeti through the city, I did think the movie was about over because it does the climax to King Kong at the halfway point.
Right.
And then again, after that, it's just in a warehouse for a while, where he's got like oxygen in his nose and everything because he's near passed out. Don't know where they found it, the size of that. Who cares? He's got Yeti IVs sitting there.
I do love how it ends basically like Pod People. Like, she tells him to just go away.
It does. Yeah.
Go away, Trumpy!
If it was Pod People, the disco band would have been some of the main characters. I mean, the movie... I was gonna say the movie is tonally consistent most of the time, unless Lassie is in the scene, then it feels like something different. But I'm not saying don't watch it. Because clearly, I think we've at least had a good time talking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it was recommended to us. Rory Gallagher recommended us watch this with... Thank you. Thank you very much for that. More monster movies from the 70s. I would give this, again, like I said, it's too long. It does run out of gas after a little while. So I'll give it a C+, and it's not a bad C+. It is like if you want to see a Yeti movie from the 70s, you'll get some Yeti action in here, but it could be tightened a bit.
Yeah, I agree. I'll agree with that C+, because I think this is the kind of movie that, like, you know, if you happen to run a certain show that riffs movies.
Mystery Science Theater.
you will have a lot of material on this.
There is.
And so, even if you were to watch it with your friends to riff on, to just have fun and just make fun of. Yeah, no, that's what makes this movie fun.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, it's a mess.
But I mean, see it.
It's a fun
yeah,
mess. It's a fun mess.
I'd be kind of disappointed if it wasn't. If it wasn't a mess. Like, that was way too structurally put together for my taste. It's all those 30 people crowding in that elevator.
Yeah.
Like it's the towering inferno for like 5 minutes of the
stairs.
movie.
Nobody's
exactly.
taking the stairs.
Guys, there's a Yeti on top of this building that is going to use this elevator as a yo-yo.
Yeah. I love that. Oh,
Like, we might want to rethink this, guys. Seriously.
oh shit.
All right, well, stay tuned. We'll be back with the Jackie Chan movie, Battle Creek Brawl, right after this.
Cougar Bio Tabo. 速い、強い、かっこいい。僕みたい。ターボを履いて強くなれ。クーガーバイオターボ。
So you said you're regretting having McDonald's earlier.
Yes.
We needed it, though. They talked about McDonald's and Dick. They did. That was another thing I liked about that movie, too. They're visiting the White House, but the kids are...
When we get done with the tour, we will all go for McDonald's
I can relate. I can relate to that.
And the girls just got excited.
It's McDonald's, dude. I knew there was something I should have brought up about the movie earlier. Like, I had a feeling I'd be talking about Yeti a lot more. Because with Dick, I didn't have as many notes. Also, I was starting to get really shocked by how hot it quickly got when we were talking about that. I am going to have to edit that video quite a bit. It's not like a stuttering mess when we're talking about that. I'm like, the movie had this person in it, and that person, and Watergate, what?
Water.
Water. We should review Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We'll love it when they get to the desert scene of the movie. All right. This is Battle Creek Brawl, another movie that, God bless you, Tubi TV. Once we got done with the Yeti movie, we were like, we don't need to switch apps. I know it's also gonna be on here. I type in the first couple letters. Surprisingly, it didn't come up. I was like, hey, wait, is it actually not on here? Type in a couple more letters.
There it is.
Yes! Best streaming service. Hell yeah. I found a few Snob episodes on there. When just scrolling through. That's how I found Oy vey, my son is gay. Oh, you should watch that, by the way. I was like, that title? Yep, doing that as an episode. All right, this is Battle Creek Brawl, which is if you're a huge Jackie Chan fan, is a pretty important movie in his filmography. Mm-hmm. This is a 1980 film, which was his first American film, directed by Robert Clouse, who did Enter the Dragon. Also, the first movie where it was Jackie's, where it was his actual voice too, where you could hear his voice throughout it. That being said, the sound quality in this movie is not very good.
No, it is not. The audio was so, like, I don't know if it was like maybe because they were trying to maybe they recorded it in mono and they just tried to like kind of fudge it with stereo, they were just kind of like trying to overlap the audio tracks.
All I know is that Yeti had the way better sound. I could hear every word of that, that kicking ass Yeti disco theme. This, I gave up. This is one of those movies where I had the remote in my hand. I don't know if it's just the movie or if it was the copy we were watching, but I was going back and forth between turning it up and down, because when it was the dialogue, it was quiet. Some of it sounded very tin can.
Right.
But then when it was the music or the Wilhelm scream in the one part, heard that perfectly clear. I like the theme music to this too, that whistly theme that it was doing. This is a movie that takes place in 1930s Chicago, and you know that because there are a lot of gangsters. I mean like old school Hollywood gangsters in this. They mean business too. One of them is Luca Brasi from The Godfather. Lenny Montana's in this. Another one, you got Larry Drake showing up in one scene. So you've also got Durant from Darkman thrown into the mix. Jackie's got his work cut out for him in this film.
I do like how authentic this movie was. When we first started, you said that you had, I guess you saw that it was shot in Texas. But the thing was, the first scene, I immediately recognized a train yard, because I literally came from one of the, and probably not the same train yard.
I'm pretty sure it's all Texas.
But even the meatpacking district, that establishing shot.
Sure, it wasn't like, I noticed a couple places it was shot in. San Antonio was one. I forget what the other one was. But in terms of somewhere else doubling for Chicago,
perhaps
I've seen it be more distracting in other things. Hell, in other Jackie Chan movies, like New York and Rumble in the Bronx, you see mountain ranges in the background.
I guess what I'm saying is living in Chicago, if they really did just kind of fake it, if they really did just kind of duplicate Chicago in another area, they did a damn good job.
They did. I mean, you and I have both seen stuff like that's in Illinois, what is it? Beginning of the End. That again, you see like mountains in the background. And hell, John Carpenter's Halloween with the palm trees and everything.
Sure.
It wasn't anything that was really sticking out to me or anything like that. Again, it was the 30s gangsters that made me be like, oh yeah, that's Chicago. It was 90% gangster back then.
Well,
all in their hats, their suits, flipping coins, harassing people, doing their switchblade tricks and all that.
Sure, but like I said, for me it was the landmarks.
I don't know, dude. I didn't see the bean anywhere in this.
Well, that's because the bean wasn't erected until 2006.
Oh, there you go with your anachronisms again. That's not an excuse. If this movie was in 1980 but took place in the 30s, it can show the future. Don't listen to me. It's hot in here. I'm going crazy. Let me get back to my acid water. Oh, God. Oh. It stings. It stings. Sweat stings my eyes. God. Anyway, what were we saying? About Rumble in the Bronx.
Now, here's the thing. You're right to say that, because this really did feel like basically Rumble in the Bronx. But I dug that. I don't know, man. There's something about Jackie Chan's fighting style and whatnot that just, like we were saying, combines physical comedy with martial arts.
He's a comedic genius. He's a physical comedic genius.
Yeah, I mean I dig that. Oh, the dad is
Mako. They need a side. They need a lot more. They need to start following him around for an extra movie where he's just on a quest to get so laid throughout this whole thing.
That's the uncle.
That's the uncle. Where he gives Jackie shit for having Kristen DeBelle with him, but then he goes off and is just banging someone in his room. Yeah, I mean, all that's it's from the director of Enter the Dragon, but it isn't simply just putting Jackie in this to kind of try to make a Bruceploitation movie or anything like that. No, when the movie came out, it wasn't the American star-making vehicle I think they wanted it to be. Like, the movie didn't do poor, but they considered it a disappointment because it didn't do Enter the Dragon numbers.
Sure.
His physical comedy within the fighting and his comedic timing, his reactions and all that, it's present in this.
Yeah.
It's there, and it is very, very, very funny. What sets it apart from some of his later movies is more so the fact that they don't give him a lot of lines in this, because he's speaking a lot of his lines like phonetically.
Yeah.
Like, so he's really only kind of saying, he is very funny in this, but that's coming from a lot of the physical comedy.
Sure.
His lines in it are kind of far few in between. They're very basic kind of lines, and
Yeah.
he's surrounded by other characters who have a lot more dialogue
Sure.
than he does.
So all he really has to do is like react.
Yeah.
And then it probably helps that we couldn't understand a damn thing anybody was
Because of the
saying.
sound quality.
The sound quality. Yeah.
I think this movie's okay. I think it's definitely a must-watch in terms of his filmography.
Sure.
And its importance in his filmography. There is very good fight scenes in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it. I don't think it's one of the great Jackie Chan movies. Because
Agreed.
it is... I gave up trying to follow what this movie's about.
Right.
Other than it leads to the brawl in the
Yeah.
small town at the end of it with Zangief and the rest of the wrestling characters.
I love that too, because I even asked you if you caught something. You're like, what? No. You checked out.
It's not so much I checked out, like I wasn't sitting there bored or anything like
Sure.
that. It was more so I checked out trying to follow it.
Right.
Because like 1 minute they're kind of getting harassed in this store, the next minute there's this roller derby going on,
Yeah.
and then we're sneaking into the gangster's house, and I kind of gave up in terms of trying to assemble what was going on in the plot for this, even though if I look it up, I'm sure it's going to be as simple as freaking possible as it possibly could be if I look at an actual plot synopsis of this.
Okay, so I was following along enough to know that his brother had basically a mail order bride show up from China in San Francisco. He told Jackie's character Jerry to hop on a train and go to San Francisco to meet up with his wife, because apparently him being a doctor, he couldn't make time to do it. He gets all the way to San Francisco from Chicago, mind you, and the girl is kidnapped by the gangsters, who apparently have a group operating in San Francisco, because
the movie's random. It is. Like, now we're at the roller ring, now we're with the mail order sister and everything. All you really need to know is Jackie's going against some 1930s gangsters. If you've got that, you can kind of go along with it a little if you've
Right.
got that basic understanding
Right.
of the plot.
So that's whenever the gangsters use her as the bargaining chip to get him to fight for them in this tournament in Texas.
Yeah.
So, and what I think is really funny about this whole setup is the fact that, like, they then use somebody else to pose as this girl.
Shenanigans. Ooh,
To pose as this girl,
Yeah.
who is like, she's supposed to be from San Francisco,
Yeah.
but she talks like she's from New Jersey. So they arrive back in Chicago with this girl who's supposed to be this mail order bride. They did establish that they did trade pictures and everything. So I'm wondering how good were these pictures where this different woman shows up. And
Well, it's the 30s.
the brother is like...
It's the 30s. The picture was probably just something serious. Didn't you know pictures in the 30s were just like crayon drawings?
True.
I may not be the best expert on history. That's why I think
Draw me like one of your French girls, Jack.
That's why the movie Dick is 100% historically accurate to me. And Forrest Gump. He inspired so many people. Why is he not in the history books? No, of the early Jackie Chan movies, the one that I watched the most was Fantasy Mission Force, where he's, don't let his top billing fool you, he is a minor supporting character in this, not even a member of the Fantasy Mission Force. They misspell his name in the credits, which is funny because he did the movie as a favor. The movie, speaking of historically accurate, the movie Fantasy Mission Force is the one that was about, it's World War II, and the Japanese Nazis have kidnapped World War II generals. One of them is Abraham Lincoln. And so the government needs someone to go in there and rescue our generals, but unfortunately James Bond is busy, so is Snake Plissken. They actually show a picture of Rocky, and they say, this is a military operation, he won't do. So then they send in the Fantasy Mission Force, where a lot of weird things happen. There is a musical number in one scene. They end up in a haunted house at one point, where it starts playing the music from Halloween 2, and once in a while, Jackie Chan is in the film. That's the early Jackie Chan movie that I watched.
Oh my god.
Of his,
that sounds amazing. It is.
It is. I love that movie, man. That's early 80s Jackie Chan. But this movie, it's entertaining. Even though they had some limitations on how much dialogue that they could give him.
Sure.
He's still not bad in the movie.
No.
Not at all. I mean, it goes without saying, he's great in the fight scenes and in his reactions and in the comedy within those fight scenes. All that stuff he's perfectly known for is there in this movie. Structurally, the movie is a bit of a mess, but it's fun. It is good. Like I said, I don't think it's one of his great movies. It's good. I'd give it a B-. It's definitely an important one to see of his flicks, and you'll have a good time with that.
Yeah.
It's not one that I would go back to and rewatch. Especially, I got Fantasy Mission Force right there.
I will go a step above and just give it a B.
Yeah.
I dug this, and I would probably watch it again if I could if they fix the audio. I feel like the studio's got to have the master somewhere they can digitally fix the audio. I hope. If you want to do like a Jackie Chan marathon, you know.
You have also described another martial arts film. The studio has kidnapped the master, and only he can fix the audio of this movie. See? You get Battle Creek Brawl 2, man.
Yes!
Legacy sequel. He's training a younger hothead Battle Creek Brawler.
Yes! Do it!
All right, so we kind of split on the 1999 comedy Dick. I gave it an A-. What did you give it?
A C plus.
We both gave a C plus to Yeti.
Yes,
but it was a fine C plus.
Yeah.
Battle Creek Brawl, I gave a B-. You went above a little bit with a B, but I want to again thank Bernard Worchel for the comedy Dick, Rory Gallagher for Yeti, giant of the 20th century, and then Nathan Palmer for Battle Creek Brawl. Thank you so much again, everyone watching in the chat, and if you would like to make any requests of your own, check us out at patreon.com/thecinemasnob, or click the link in the comments and in the description, and it'll take you to the blog post where you can make your requests for us. Where can we find you at?
Find me at twitch.tv/Jerrid Foils. And let's do a sweat check.
I think I wore the wrong shirt. You have to trust me, I am sweating way more than I am in previous episodes. It's just that the Brothers Gibb have soaked it up a little more than
Brothers Gibb
than I usually have in these. I feel like shit. shit. I am going in, and Laura's gonna make me go in the shower, but then after that, I'm gonna lay down for a little while.
Right. Good idea.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care.